What up, what up, what up? Happy Friday, everyone. You ever hear that at all, Ernie?
Happy Friday?
Yeah, happy Friday, everybody.
No, what is that from?
Peloton. Alex Toussaint. Sorry, I do Peloton workouts every day, so he's usually one guy I usually work out with. But that's not what we're here to talk about, man. We have a fun episode coming for you guys here at FF Face Off. As usual, welcome to the FF Face Off, part of the Face Off Sports Network. Ernie and I have a fun rookie mock draft we're going to be doing with you guys today. I've changed it up, Ernie. We're going to have some fun with this. It's not going to be SuperFlex, but it's like SuperFlex, but it's not SuperFlex.
Okay.
It's 2QB.
I like
2QB
that.
rookie draft, right? Like, and people are like, no, let me ask you this. Like, has anyone ever said to you, what's the difference between 2QB and SuperFlex? There's no difference. I beg to differ. The difference is in Superflex, you don't have to start a quarterback or a second quarterback. You do have to start a single quarterback. But the Superflex position gives you the option to go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end. Here, 2 quarterback leagues, you have to start 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
Now, most people will say, yeah, it's easy to do that in 10 and 12 team leagues. All right, well, I'm also in 14 and 16 team leagues. And one of my spots, even in my Superflex, I don't have a second quarterback. I have a 2 QB league. Guess what? There's no second quarterback. I'm still waiting on that, and I'm hoping to get one this year, which not much to brag about, but that's not here or there. NFL OTAs kicked off. Anything new and spectacular you care about to say on any of those, or is it just, yeah, whatever? It's first week. Players are going to miss. Players are going to show up. No big deal.
No, I think you read into it a little bit, nothing too crazy. Like they don't have any pads on, right? But you start to get a feel for, who has a higher probability of being a stud. Who do they have higher expectations for? Who's going to get opportunities? Because that's what fantasy is all about. Opportunities, right? Talent's one thing, but you need the opportunities. So OTA kind of drops clues on players that we could be potentially sleeping on, players that are being undervalued, and some emerging guys, whether that's a rookie, second year guy, third year guy, and there's sometimes even fourth year breakouts, right? But it's nice. Like you see stuff like a Jermaine Burton, like, he's like working hard now and stuff, right? That's where it's like, I don't know if I'd read too much into it, but it's nice to know that, that there's a chance that he could be the wide receiver 3, and get a deep dart throw there, like, or he's probably on the waiver wire in some leagues. So there's a little fun nuggets like that. But yeah, I wouldn't look too into it.
So you're not looking too far in like the whole Stephon Diggs missing, the first day of OTAs and, the pink substance in his hand around a whole bunch of women.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of am. Like, I'm getting Odell Beckham vibes. Honestly, like, he's such an annoying player because I love the landing spot, but it's like he's been on a decline. He kind of played better in Houston, which was weird because like his last year in Buffalo, he had an awesome first half. Then that second half was terrible. And we know it's not Josh, right? But then he went to Houston. He kind of played that slot role. He was doing solid until he tore his ACL. He looks good. Like he's been practicing, but he's 31. I don't know. I think he kind of is living it up right now, and that contract they gave him was really like a 1-year contract. So I don't know, man. It's, in theory, I love Drake May, so this should be his, number 1 receiver this year. That's why I'm torn because it's like, I don't know if I trust him though. The age, the injury, being off the field on party boats,
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah, absolutely. But hey, man, I mean, we're all young. We're all like to have a good time. We get off, we like to let a little loose, man. Here it is, Friday night. The shades are going on.
throw him on, baby.
I can't really see that well now because they're polarized and I'm in my basement. But hey, you know what? I'm going to try my best and see if I can do a draft like this because I'm here to have a good time. So let's all get everybody ready. Let's all have a good time. I'm going to bring up the draft right now. Dude, like I said, I'm not lying. I have a hard time seeing right now. And let's get this.
One good nugget before we kick it off. Like, remember when, Le'Veon Bell had that contract situation and he sat and then James Conner played and kind of went off?
Oh, yeah.
Well, James Cook is asking for a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying like he's going to, sit out, but I don't think there's any way in hell like the Bills pay him what he wants. And Ray Davis has been getting, first team reps. So that's something to keep an eye on. Again, you can't look too into it, but it's an interesting situation because they're not going to pay him. So, we'll see. And if he does sit out and then you're stashing Ray Davis, you're hitting a jackpot.
Oh yeah, I mean, to go back at James Cook, like, yeah, he had a great season thanks to the 18 total touchdowns.
Right.
But let's remember, he had 207 rushing attempts, barely broke 1,000 yards, 1,009 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns. Now, okay, were they let off a little bit on Josh Allen? Maybe, but like you said, teams don't want to pay running backs. Yeah, and I want everyone to get paid. I mean, the Saquon Barkley got paid, but it's like my own team itself. The Detroit Lions. Yeah, they paid Dan Montgomery, but are they going to pay Jahmyr Gibbs when his contract comes up? Who knows? I mean, it'd be smart, I think, to do that. But what do I know? Because look at the New York Giants. Look what they did. Wait, not just the New York Giants, but they're your New York Giants.
I can't believe our GM still has a job. That's just crazy, dude. Like, he legitimately won the Eagles a Super Bowl as he turned out 2 back-to-back seasons with, under 4 wins. And he's
maybe that's why he has a job still. Maybe that's why he kept his job, because he gave the Eagles a Super Bowl.
Yeah, maybe he's on the books for Howie. That would actually make a lot of sense. But yeah, man, they're a clown show. I don't expect them to win more than 5 games this year. No shot.
Oh man. All right. So we're gonna kick off our 2 QB rookie mock draft. Before we start, Ernie, you took the number 2.
Yes.
Any particular reason why you took the number 2?
Because there's a player that I absolutely love, and in theory, there's a 90% chance he's gonna be there. So
90% chance. I like where this is going. I took the 108 just because I have a draft and I have the 108.
I was gonna ask, do you want to switch? Because I know you like the 102.
Nope. All my teams are pretty good. Yeah, my teams are pretty good this year. So a little braggadocious on this. So I'll go ahead and take the 108. You keep the 102, and we'll see how this plays out. And as we say, we always like to start out.
Oh, so you're getting reps for your. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. If I'm going to do reps, I might as well do it here with everyone. That way everyone can see what I like to do. And then my league mates can see what I like to do. And then be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the player you want. So.
Dang, so you're going to help them out?
Isn't that why we're here?
Oh, all right. You reveal to them the guys you want. Bold move, Con. Let's see if it works out for him.
All right. So we got 2 minutes on the clock. Pick a Del if it's on. I'm not going to be surprised here. Even in a 2 QB league, I still think it will be Ashton Jetty going as the 101 because it just seems to be the unanimous pick. No matter what you are, like 1 QB, SuperFlex. Here we are, 2 QB. I think it has to be luck. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's every year, man. There's a consensus number 1 pick, and that's what everybody's just going to roll with. And I think it's warranted for Ashton. I think he's an amazing football player. So, yeah, I think he's the consensus 1.1 this year.
It's got to be. I mean, and like you and I did a 1 QB rookie mock a couple days ago. Look back, guys. Go ahead and find that, and you can find that Face Off Sports Network on our YouTube page. Ernie and I did a 1 QB league, and I realized, Ernie, I screwed up in that draft because I had a 1 QB team that took 2 quarterbacks. Not looking at it until after I made the pick, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to backtrack it. It made it look funny. Yes, Sometimes we screw up, but that's the script I look at, and I'm like, why would I do that? I'm like, unless my team is that bad and I need quarterbacks that desperately. But in a 12-team league, you shouldn't be that desperate for a single quarterback. So, like I said, we have 40 seconds left here, with the first overall pick. I won't be surprised if it goes auto pick, which is okay. These people that we have on this draft, a lot of them do set their pre-draft rankings and just kind of walk away. So the clock will time out. It'll go auto. And these guys are great that I've done these mocks with for at least a couple of years. So great group of people here. Glad to have them all on. Glad to have you on with me, Ernie, as always. We seem to have, we got the chemistry going on here. So I'm enjoying these type of things with you.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it, dude. Likewise, brother. I'm happy to do this with everybody that joined us, man. I'm happy that you're having me, brother. I can't wait to do more.
See? What did I say? Ashton Jetty was going to go 101. No lies
I'll-
detected.
yeah.
All
I'm
right.
gonna take my boy Omarion Hampton. I think he
E-
is the.
Even in a two quarterback league?
Yep, I am. I think he's that good. I think this is one of the better running back draft classes of all time. I really do think Hampton is going to be special. Um, in like any dynasty league, man, I just want as much of him as I can. Like I think the Chargers are in a position to pound the ball and explode offensively, and I think he's going to be one of the main beneficiaries. And your nugget you gave me actually gave me even more conviction when Harbaugh wanted him at Michigan. That dude, that's like an awesome nugget. So yeah, I'm excited for Omari and Hampton. I think Najee. Um, and I get this angle where people are coming from with Najee, like, oh, Najee, might be a pain in the ass. I think Najee, because it's interesting, he was signed before the draft, right? And I think
You
that's
have to
just
do
like,
that.
of course, because you don't know which way the draft is going to go, right? And
Never.
you, and it was impressive. Like, if the Chargers can get a quality running back or a bell cow elite running back, like look what Dobbins and Gus Edwards did last year, right? And that's impressive what they did.
Yeah.
But they know like they can't rely on those two players. So that's why you get Najee, because let's say they didn't get Hampton, right? Or, what if Hampton gets hurt? Let's say they get him and Hampton gets hurt. Now you're screwed. Who's going to run the ball? So, Najee could come in, run the ball 30 times a game, rush for 1,000 yards. But I think he's more insurance. Sure, maybe early on there will be kind of like a split. But I think Hampton easily runs away with that job, man. He just reminds me so much of Nick Chubb, man. And they got the offense, the quarterback, the offensive line. So I'm in on Hampton, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished RB1 from the rookie class. I really do.
Woo! Bold take right there, my brother. Bold take. I'm putting these shades on, man. Holy shit. I'm going to get sunburned just for what you just said.
Yes, sir.
And also, trying to hide down below because there's a little bit of excitement going on here. I can't hide it.
I respect the 1.3 Travion Henderson. I love that. I would take him over both of the receivers too. I really would. I think Travion Henderson is going to be an absolute stud. And that's an awesome landing spot for him. Even though they have Stevenson, I think Stevenson will be like, he'll get work on early downs and, some red zone work. But I think Henderson is going to be a do it all back there. And Vrabel's there, and they just invested in the offensive line. So I think that's an awesome pick.
And Stevenson is the last regime's running back. Vrabel has his running back now, and Travion Henderson. Pass block, protect. Jeez, oh, peace, excuse me. Choking on my own.
You're good, homie.
But Travion Henderson, one of the best pass pros, one of the rookies out there. Drake May's going to love him. Easy to dump off. He might not be an instant PPR machine, but he'll definitely be someone who will definitely take that next step forward. I mean, these three running backs that went, 1, 2, 3, have the chance to finish as the best rookie running back, this year. Like, I'm not going to say they're going to finish as the best running backs overall, like, all three RB1s, but they do have capability to have RB1 weeks.
I think in PPR, I wouldn't be shocked if all three of them finish top 15. I think that's their ceiling. Like, I think the only thing I disagree with you on is that I think Henderson will be a PPR machine from day one, just because I would even go a step further and say he was the best pass protector of the running back class by far. Like, I think people underrate his size. Like, he's a bigger back than people think, dude. He's going to be on the field at all third down situations, dude. He's going to get a ton of carries. Like, I think he's going to be like very similar to Jamari Gibbs. Not to be that guy, but like I think that's a very good comp for him. A guy that's going to, get a lot of carries, maybe 15 carries, 10, 15 carries a game, right? And then he's going to get a ton of catches, and he's electrifying. So I'm in on Travion Henderson, man. In PPR, I wouldn't be surprised. I think his ceiling is top 15, I really do. But I'm not like afraid of Najee and Stevenson, I think they'll get some work. But I think these guys are going to be the beneficiaries, and they're the more talented player.
Yeah.
I don't think they're drafting them to sit. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's like why I kind of like the value too, is like, at worst, okay, better player in a 50-50 split.
Oh,
And as
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
once they trust them too, dude, then it's like, the workload's just going to expand. Because, when you could have, Marion Hampton running the ball, like we know who Najee is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing sexy, but he'll get you 1,000 yards if you needed somebody, to pound the football. But Hampton's got that Nick Chubb upside, man. Like he's just a home run hitter.
I think Hampton's better than what Nick Chubb's upside's going to be. Or
I
Nick Chubb's upside was.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think
Like,
better team.
like I'm not. This isn't going to be a bold take, but it's going to be because I have sunglasses on. And I would say I wouldn't be surprised when Marion Hampton is better than Ashton Genty.
There, dude, shine it back at me, baby.
Oh,
I agree.
so bright, so bright. The future's looking so bright. I had to wear shades, but I got to take them off because it is my pick, and I'm actually surprised. 2-quarterback league that this guy actually fell, but I have to take him just because of the value. And that's Jackson Dart. How can you pass on a quarterback who was drafted in the first round like that? You just can't. Like, you have to take them when they're available like this. And, you have someone who's got the possibility to start, not maybe this year, but does he? I mean, people may say, like, oh, we're taking a lot on that one. Like, oh, you reached on him. You should have taken that soon.
Dude, I think Dart's a good pick. Like, as a Giants fan, I don't think the Giants. This is the only risk I think there is with Jackson Dart.
We're gonna fight again.
We're going to fight again. No, not really, because there's a lot I agree with you on. Like, I think he's a legit talent. I think he was undervalued. I think Cam Ward was the best quarterback in the class, but I don't think Jackson Dart was that far from Cam Ward. Like, Jackson Dart played in a harder division, man. He beat Georgia with a sprained ankle. His underlying numbers were really good. So there was a lot to like about Jackson Dart. He has a really good arm. But here's the thing, right? You got a bank that the Giants win 7 games, which I don't think is possible, right? And then they buy themselves another year for him to be the starter. And then I think with Dable, he could eventually take off, right? But if the Giants finish with under 3 or 4 wins, I can't see them keeping everybody. And if that happens, the new GM is going to come in and you have one of the better quarterback classes of all time. Again, it's a what if, but forecasting ahead, you have 3 really good prospects. So unless something, they have like ridiculous fall off, which could happen, right? It's a really good class, and I think the new GM would want to draft their guy. And then I think you would see Dart get shipped for like a day 2 pick to a team that liked him. That's the floor. But the ceiling is that he's the Giants quarterback of the future. He's got Brian Dable, Malik Neighbors. It really comes down to Andrew Thomas. If Andrew Thomas could stay healthy, you might have something there, because then they could win 6-7 games if they play at their best. And then you have the Giants quarterback of the future that's linked to Dable. So we saw what happened last time that guy linked up with a quarterback. Worked out pretty good.
Right. Oh, yeah. And surprisingly, I'm actually going to agree with what you said about the whole Giants thing now, because it actually made logical sense. So even say, they could trade. Like, this could be like the whole, what was it, Josh Rosen deal with the whole Kyler Murray type thing going on.
Yep.
Yeah. So that could be that kind of scenario. But, at that point, then it's like, where the hell would he go?
Well, here's the thing, right? This is how you got to look at it, because it's like you're the new GM, right, Ryan? You come in, you're the new GM. Let's say they have the number 2 pick, okay? So you're guaranteed to get a stud. Do you want to draft your own guy that is going to be an elite prospect, right? Or do you want to take a chance on a guy that's not yours, And he was a dart throw at the end of the first round. Logically, I think they're going to want to take their guy. And it's like, crap, like if you could still get a day 2, like where would he go, right? I would imagine there were some teams that were high on Jackson Dart, right? And they're quarterback needy teams. Like, for example, like I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders next year, like say Giants are picking top 3, they're going to take one of the, blue chip quarterbacks. like the Raiders only have Geno Smith. You know what I mean? So he's 34. I think you'll see a team like that make a move for him, you know? But that's the only reason why I think he gets shipped, because I just think the Giants are inevitably going to be bad. And I don't know. Again, it's the Giants, so nothing would cease to amaze me.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Can you see a GM, sir, surviving 3 years of 4 seasons with under 4 wins? Do you think he comes back for a fourth year?
Ooh. I mean, that team is absolute like dumpster fire. In
100%.
in reality, no. But like, who else is gonna want the job? I mean, to be honest with you, if they start like a total dumpster fire, I would be surprised if they actually fired him mid-season.
100%. Do you want to know why? I couldn't agree with you more. And do you want to know why they're going to do that? I get when that happens, dude, right? Do you know what's going to happen? They're going to promote some in-house guy, some interim coach that's close with the Maras, and they're going to tank. And they should. That's what's going to happen, because they're going to be like, all right, we're 1-7, we're 1-9. We need to finally like cut the snake's head off. And they're going to tank, because that's the only way they're going to get a new GM and a new coach that wants to come to the Giants and, fix them, and that's probably the sexiest way to do it, is by, again, I think Archie, Nussmeier, and Aller, I think they're all going to be studs. I could be wrong, right? But I like all three of them. And, there are some like Bill Belichick, like, again, he's in North Carolina doing his thing, but I know deep down he still wants to coach the Giants, like that he was kind of, a lot of people were speculating that that's why he took the North Carolina job, because the Falcons wanted to hire Belichick. He said no to the NFL, but says yes to college, right? And we all know that Belichick, since Parcells, that the Giants are the one team that he's always wanted to coach, so like, who better, to be that Gandalf on the hill than Bill Belichick, and I'm sure he'll bring in one of his, like, dude, and even if a lot of people are like, oh, Belichick's old, I get that. He might be done, right? But it's like, what other options do they have? And also, it's like, what if you get Bill Belichick and Archie Manning, right? And he sets you up like, in the next 5 years, you have a winning culture, you've won a championship, and then he retires, leaving you that foundation. That was a win, man. I mean, compared to, where the Giants have been. So, yeah, man, that's what I honestly think. I just think they're that bad. I don't trust them to win more than 5 games. I don't.
Belichick gets his quarterback he wants. He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. I'd be kind of a little worried about that. Get one of these young quarterbacks around him, around her. So
she might be the quarterback's coach too. You never know.
I'll keep that appropriate. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll keep that on the DL. But back to the draft. First round, quick recap. Ashton Genty, no surprise. You surprisingly take O'Marion Hampton, Trayvon Henderson, Ted McMillan, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward finally goes to the 106. Quinshon Judkins at 17. I take Jackson Dart at 18. RJ Harvey at the 19. Tyler Warren at 110. Caleb Johnson at the 111. Matthew Golden at 112.
Who was your favorite pick of that round?
Who was my favorite? Well, mine, obviously. I mean, come on. Why would that not be my favorite pick? Because I'm the best drafter there is out there, so that's all I got to say.
Of course.
So, like, yeah, it's only my pick is the best pick. But looking at how it's going now, I like. Well, I mean, it's easy to say Philadelphia's because he has Ashton Genty. But looking at the teams now, like, I'm not a huge Travis Hunter fan just because he's the wide receiver 2 on his own team.
I agree.
Compared to Ted McMillan, who actually has wide receiver 1 upside. So if I had to say what pick I hate the most, it'd be the Travis Hunter pick at 1.5. And nothing against Lucky Leo 255, but I'm just not a fan of that pick overall. But I still, if I gun to my head, I'd probably say RJ Harvey, just because he fell to the 1.9.
Good. I that's my second favorite pick. My number 1 is actually Travion Henderson, partially because of what you said. Because I agree with Travis Hunter. I think Hunter is a solid football player, but again, you know, I think he's a better corner than receiver. You know, I already know Brian Thomas is the alpha there. So you're already the wide receiver too. I don't know how many snaps, like he's a human being. So I would imagine it's kind of like a 50-50, right? But I love Travion Henderson. I think he's really undervalued right now. I would take him over McMillan and Hunter. I think that's kind of like you usually see him go at 1-5. So I like that pick just because that person had the balls to do it. And I think it's the right move.
Yeah, especially like that is a ballsy move, and I don't have like truck nuts to really say to do that. But if I did, I'd probably do something similar to that.
Did you just take my boy Kyle Williams, you slut?
No, I took Kyle Williams.
Oh, yeah, you took my boy, you slut. Great pick, dude. That's an awesome pick.
Hey, I know a little bit of things about fantasy football, if you ask me. Send me your lineups. I'll get you the best lineup. No problem. No big deal. I got this. But no, I like Kyle Williams just because he has the potential to step in as a wide receiver one on the team, not exactly wide receiver one in fantasy. People are going to hype him up saying, like, you know, he's got all this wide open field. Yes, everyone's got the wide open field as a rookie, but until you prove it, you gotta show it. He's from there's a reason why he's at the 208 for a reason. He's not a 104 type pick. Yep. He's a late second, mid to late second round pick. So that's the reason why I'm taking him here. I like him personally here, getting him, especially this late. I was actually thinking he'd actually go at least after Higgins. I would think that 2-5 I could see him going, but I guess it's depending what your team looks like. Say like I need a wide receiver. Oh, I got my wide receiver at the 1-5. Now there's a running back I want to get. Hopefully follows me at the 2-5 and Cam Scadaboo. The guy got his running back. So, I always say get your guy no matter whatever the cost is. If you feel like that's who you believe in, go get him. But looking at your team, you have a Mary Hampton, and then you take Ibuka in the second round.
Yeah, no, I love your Kyle Williams pick, dude. And like, I agree with you because I in theory, Stephon Diggs should be awesome, but I don't know if I trust it. Kyle Williams is going to play that slot, dude. And like, yeah, I love Drake May, like going back to UNC. And that's why you saw Josh Downs have some big years. Like he loves throwing to a slot receiver. So that's an awesome pick. I think you'll actually see value year one. I went at Ibuka, dude, because again, this is Dynasty. So I'm going for the jugular in the long term. I think, Hampton and Ibuka, there's, some concern with those guys. Like, it might be more of a year two takeoff. And I think that's the absolute floor for both. I think if you didn't see money dividends from either this year, you will 100% see them next year. Najee's on a 1-year contract. Godwin and Evans are both over 30 years old, or Godwin's close to it. Ibuka is legit, man. I think he's the best route runner in the class. He reminds me a lot of St. Brown. I think him and Baker Mayfield are going to be a lot of fun. So I went with the long-term pick there. I know it's murky year one, but still, dude, I think he could still give you, if you're in a PPR league, I could see flex. Baker Mayfield's good, dude. They have a really good offense, and their offense is fun because the Bucs are probably going to win 9 or 10 games, somewhere around there, right? So every game is going to be a high score, back and forth, right? So there's going to be a lot of volume to go around. And again, we don't know if Godwin's playing week one, and if Godwin has to start the year on the shelf, dude, Ibuka becomes that much more tempting because say, those first 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is, and he becomes Baker's go-to because Baker loves throwing to the slot as well. He's another quarterback, right? Then Absolutely. It's shit, man. He might run away with that job because, Godwin is getting up there. You know what I mean? So, there's that scenario as well. So you just got to kind of picture every scenario. But yeah, dude, I think Ibuka is a safe pick. I think he's this draft's JSN. Easy pick for me.
I like your analogy on that. And plus, Mike Evans eventually has to fall. 32 years old, just barely broke the 1,000 yards last season. He got lucky on the big, he had 1 or 2 big games.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baker Mayfield, because, he's finishing as QB6. That definitely helps out a lot of fantasy managers. But no, I totally understand. Like, eventually that team kind of has to start coming down. Like you said, Chris Godwin's going to eventually, is he going to be ready to go right away? Is he going to be on the shelf? Where does Mike Evans, finally start to show that slowing down process going in? And that's a perfect pick. I mean, especially getting him here at the 2-2, I think it's highway robbery. I would actually rather have him over Matthew Golden, just because that whole wide receiver room in Green Bay seems more murkier than the one in Tampa Bay, even though we know what the one in Tampa Bay looks like. But in Green Bay, like we don't even know, like, who's one, who's two, who's three.
I do think Matt Golden's going to be legit. I think he will emerge the number one there. I really do. I think the talent's legit. And like back to Mike Evans though, dude. Like, dude, he's one of my favorite receivers ever. He's a dog. But it's like, yeah, dude. Like, he already had a hamstring injury last year and stuff. So I'm with you there, man. Like, he had a crazy year last season, but I think a fall off is imminent. If it doesn't happen this year, I feel like it'll be next year. So, yeah, man, I think just Ibuka's in a really, really good spot, dude, because, he could, as quickly as, JSN last year was behind Tyler Lockett and Metcalf.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to draft him because
everyone hated him. Everyone hated him. Like, God damn it, like, I wasted a first round pick on him. He's gonna play like shit because he didn't do shit the year before. Yeah. And then look what happens.
Sometimes you gotta be patient, fantasy guys. You gotta play the calculated, long game. But yeah, man, I agree. I actually, not to glaze myself. Well, so far my favorite pick is whoever is Z Fighter. He's having an awesome draft. I love his two picks, Trey Harris and Ferguson.
Dude, Z Fighter 11 is a sleeper type of guy. Like, he knows how to draft. I've been in many mock drafts with him. This guy, like, he is a true ninja, as like his avatar shows.
Yeah, dude. No, my compliments to him. I really like his draft. Like, I was gonna take Ferguson, actually where I took Bryant, but Pat Bryant's another guy getting a lot of steam. So, you're in round 3. You might as well just reach for, the sleeper you like the most. But, dude, I love Terrence Ferguson. I think he could absolutely be a stud. Like, McVay talks about this guy like he's Travis Kelce. So, yeah, no, that was an awesome pick. I think he had an awesome draft. I think Trey Harris actually, like, honestly, that gives Ibuka a run for his money for best pick, round 2. I think Trey Harris is gonna. I honestly
push the wide receiver 2.
Not only push wide receiver 2, I think he's gonna have 1,000 yards this year. I really do.
As a rookie,
yes, I think he will be one of the surprise. Again, another bold take. Keep those glasses on. I think Herbert. Dude, Justin Herbert was getting drafted as Superflex quarterback 1 or 2 years ago, right? I think he still is that same quarterback. I think the Chargers have had some down years. I think Harbaugh came in and changed everything last year. And now he has the offensive line. He has the coach. He has McConkey. He has Trey Harris. And, like, dude, it's really similar to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So I think you see a big year from Justin Herbert. I think Trey Harris is one of my favorite receivers in the draft. I think if he didn't get hurt, he could have been a first-round pick. And fun nugget, the Chargers were really – Harbaugh wanted to take him round 1, but Horwitz was like, nah, dude, like, trust our, our scouting department. Yeah, because they have a feel for, like, who's going to take who. Again, it's all, like, calculated. Like, anything can happen, but I think that's cool now that they can kind of, make calculated guesses on, like, when a guy's going to be there or not. If they could, if there's a high probability of their guy falling, if they will, instead of moving up, right? But yeah, dude, I think the sky is the limit for him, man. I'm a Lad McConkey guy. This is why I love this pick even more. They're playing 2 separate roles, guys, to a quarterback that has literally a golden arm, and he's behind a fortress of an offensive line. Like, he is going to have time to throw the ball, and Trey Harris is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries. I think him and McConkey will both have over 1,000 yards this year. Take it to the bank. I'm that high on him. He would really have to have a slow start, but I think Trey Harris has the talent to be an absolute stud from year 1 and on. I really do. It's a bold take, but that's my guy.
I could see it too. And, recap the quick second round. Pick 2-1, Colson Loveland. You took Ibuka. Luther Burden went 3. Jaden Higgins went 4. Scadaboo went 5. And then we talked Harris at 6. To Z Fighter 11, as we've been talking. Beck at 2-7. Kyle Williams with me at 2-8. Facial Tootin, the fumbler, 2-9. Jalen Milroe at 2-10. Mason Taylor at 2-11, which is another tight end I like. And Shedeur Sanders at 2-12. So, Two quarterbacks go in this round of Milroe and Sanders, but they go late, surprisingly. And just to recap, because man, we were flying through this draft. I thought like I had made it long enough, but holy smokes, these guys are good wizards, so they know what they're doing. They know what they're drafting. Tyler Shout, which was a surprise, falls to the 3-1. You take Pat Bryant at the 3-2. Jaden Blue falls to 3-3. Ale Manor, I always struggle to say his name. That's why I always have to like enunciate it.
Yeah.
Was at 3-4. Jalen Wills, which is a sleeper I like at 3-5. Terrence Ferguson, we saw at 3-6. Jalen Knoll at 3-7. I get Isaac Tesla at the 3-8. Will Howard, which is a quarterback I'm actually surprisingly starting to like, which is hard to believe, goes 3-9. Dylan Sampson, 3-10. Dylan Gabriel, God knows who's going to be the starting quarterback there in Cleveland.
Apparently Gabriel looks good, dude.
Well, yeah, they took him third for a reason.
Apparently he looks good, so do with that what you will. But I think he could quietly, I wouldn't be shocked if when they decide to bench Flacco, they give Gabriel the first look. You know, I think there's just a lot. I think there's a lot of, just spark in media around Sanders right now, so he's getting a lot more attention. But there's a reason why they drafted Gabriel over him. And if Gabriel wasn't 5'11" lefty quarterback, you watch the tape. His tape's pretty good. So that'll be interesting to see who they go with first. But yeah, apparently Gabriel looks good.
Yeah, man, I'm sitting here struggling with this pick, but you know what? I'm gonna change it up with the 4th round pick. Hello, Travis. Yeah. Going with the brother.
Yes, sir. All right. So what was your vision with Tesla? Let me hear it.
All right. So as you know, I'm a Lions fan. I'm never going to hide it. So if I get good word on players, I look into it. I research the shit out of this one. Like I probably beat this thing to death of trying to find out why they traded so much for Isaac Tesla. So they gave up their 3rd round, another 3rd round, and I think next year's 3rd round or 2 3rd rounds next year to move up just to get him. And the reason behind
who did they trade that to, by the way?
Houston, I think, if I'm correct.
Good trade for Houston. I mean, 3 3rd round picks. Damn.
I'd have to double check to see exactly what it is.
That's 3 top 100 picks. Yeah, man. I mean, holy shit. Do you think, let me ask you this. Well, actually, why did they move up and try? I know he thought he was the best wide receiver in the draft.
Well, yeah, everyone thinks they're the best wide receiver in the draft, and they draft him. He's one of our guys. We have a first round grade on him. I can't believe he fell to us here. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. But with Tesla here, he's a Michigan native guy. He's always wanted, even when he was in high school, he said he wanted to be drafted by the Detroit Lions. That was one of his dreams. When he came to interview with the Lions, he actually had a Detroit Lions hoodie on. So right away, home cook guy that we definitely want to have. But looking at it, right away, he can perform right on special teams. He'd be a kick returner, punt returner, however you want to put him there. But essentially, if you ever listen to Brad Holmes talk, people will say, you're in the Super Bowl window now. Play for now, not tomorrow. He goes, I never just play for now. I like to play for the future. Tesla is also going to be more valuable next year to the Detroit Lions than this year, because this year you have, for a fact, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a lock. Jameson Williams in the contract year. You have Tim Brown, who's on a 1-year contract. And then you have Khalif Raymond, who's on a 1-year contract. So basically, you're putting Isaac Tesla right now as the wide receiver 5 on that team. Next year, best case scenario, if nothing happens, say they do re-sign Jameson Williams, that leaves Tesla as a wide receiver 3 right off the bat. So you get that type of upside, late 3rd round pick, well worth the reach. I mean, people might say, I might reach for him, or I got him at a good value because he fell to the 3-8. And I'll gladly take that because I like the potential upside of what he's capable of doing.
Oh yeah. So you think he's more of his ceiling is wide receiver 2? Let's say he actually outplays Jameson this year, right?
That ain't happening. No. I'm not going to be that bold, man. I took the shades off. The shades are off.
I would say that's his absolute ceiling. If he was actually
wide receiver 2,
stuff.
I would say wide receiver 3.
Jameson.
They're that's a tough
Like,
one. It all depends on how this season goes with them. To be honest, like I'm not going to say, oh yeah, they're going all the way. This is their year. If they start to falter, I can see them trading Jameson away for some type of value.
sure.
And if they do start, pushing, this only is going to push them to have to re-sign Jameson Williams because of the chemistry that team already has. It's like it's kind of hard to rebuild it all over again if you have to try to start all over again with a wide receiver who you took in the first round.
So, but his floor is wide receiver 3. I agree with that too. Like, I think by his floor by next year will be wide receiver 3. Yeah.
I think its ceiling would be wide receiver 3. I won't say his floor is wide receiver 3. I think its ceiling is wide receiver 3.
No, I think his ceiling is actually a little bit higher just because, like, again, like, there's no guarantees with anything. Who says Jameson Williams is going to have a good year? Like, what if, the Lions really just need an X receiver and now this Tesla kid comes in? And what if Holmes is right? Like, we've seen GMs do this. Like, I thought Bo Nix was going to be terrible. Sean Payton looks like a genius, right?
Yeah.
What if this kid's a monster? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but you got to remember the other pass catchers they have going on too. You got Sam Laporta as tight end. You have both running backs, Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to be fighting to get more receptions and stuff. I could see Tesla having wide receiver 2 weeks if that helps you. Like, his ceiling can be a wide receiver 2 in a week. I don't think for a season.
Yeah.
But for a week, yes. But overall, I can see more of a wide receiver 3, which is what you hope for at best, especially with second-year players when they come out.
He'll definitely be wide receiver 3. I think you gotta pray that he's better than Jameson because then you really hit.
Dude, if he's better than Jameson, I'm buying you a beer. Actually, no, I'm gonna buy you quite a few.
Dude, I mean, your GM's actually pretty good on hitting these offensive playmakers, and he gave up a shit ton to get this guy. So, and he did it when Jameson Williams in a contract year.
Yeah,
and you just said it. You kind of play for the future too, man. So, I don't know.
Everyone says let Brad cook, and I understand that whole phrase, but at the same time, if you hit 100% of your players, yeah, man, like there's no stopping you. But there's a few misses he's had, and that's gonna happen. And he's going to start missing more than he's going to hit. So could Tesla be a hit? Yeah. Could he also be a miss? Yeah. Would I be surprised either way? No.
Well, he kind of shut me up with I thought taking Gibbs at 6 was crazy. Laporta was kind of taking him that high was crazy.
He didn't take Gibbs at 6. He took Gibbs at 12. He was going to take him at 6.
Yeah, that's insane.
He was going to take him over Bijan Robinson.
Wait, they didn't. Wait, when did they take Gibbs again?
12. They traded down.
Oh, that's what it was. They were going to take him over Bijan. I remember that.
And they traded down.
That's what it was. Yeah, man. So, no, I think Holmes is, on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like he's had a lot of hits. But I agree with you. I feel like he is kind of hit or miss a little bit. But so let me ask you, do you trust him on this pick? Do you think this is one of his hits or you think it's a miss? You think he got a little overzealous and just?
I think he might have got a little overzealous and traded too much for him. But I always like to play the wait and see game. Like I'm not going to jump to conclusion and say, he messed up because what do I know? Like to try to say like I could scout, 160 some schools and these wide receivers and all these other players. It's hard to do it until you see him actually get drafted and then you try to piece it together. Like, was this a good pick? Does this fit Jared Goff's scheme? Does this fit the offensive scheme? We're still trying to figure out is what type of offense is this offense going to run now with Montgomery taking over as the offensive coordinator? There's no more Ben Johnson. But I always try to tell people, like, was it really Ben Johnson that was doing it? Or was it Dan Campbell running the offense?
No, I think it was a combination. I think Ben Johnson is a good offensive mind, but he definitely gets a little too much credit. Because, like, what a lot of people undervalue is nobody realizes how good the Detroit Lions supporting cast is. Right? Like, their offensive line was set from, like,
it's one of the best.
Yeah. So, definitely top 3. So, your offense is going to obviously be able to operate easier when you have a wall for your quarterback to stand behind. Mm-hmm. So his offense is always going to look prettier, right? He's going to be able to do whatever he wants most of the time. And then again, you have, Brad Holmes hit on St. Brown, Gibbs, Laporta, right? And he brought some firepower in there, and it was kind of like the perfect storm. So I still give Ben Johnson credit. Like, I think he's a good offensive mind, but I don't think that was all him. I think he had a lot of help from what the Lions had and what they gave him, right? So I think that offense, I always get scared when there's an offensive coordinator change, because now it's a different play style, play calls, like a different style, right? So, and that obviously is going to impact fantasy performances because, a guy might not get the ball as much as he did last year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And I'm not that worried though with the Lions. I think the Lions will still operate. They're going to run the shit out of the ball. They're going to be able to throw. They'll be okay.
Wondering if you have anything, if you want to hear anything positive. Philip B says Ibuka at 2-2 and Blue at 3-3 is nice. So
Love
yeah,
it, man.
you're Ibuka love, man.
Yes, sir.
He knew
Appreciate that.
he knows what you're talking about. He knows what you know what you're doing. So Philip B wanted to give you some props on that. And then
Appreciate that,
Gatorators with the
homie.
Jade and Blue.
Yeah, man, and I like Jade on Blue, but I would be careful. Like, there's a lot of upside there. Like Texas, he was part of a really deep running back room at Texas. Like, you have Bijan, Brooks, Roshan. So
He
he
was
was
there.
kind of he was behind them a little bit. He's a little undersized, but he's an awesome receiving back. The one thing I would be just tread like kind of be careful with if you take Blue. I would make sure, he's always on waivers after draft, but Phil Maffa, the running back they took in the 7th round from Clemson, he's a much bigger back. He's like 230 pounds. And again, like it's not uncommon for these really late running backs to actually come in and produce. So the Cowboys running back room is wide open. This was a really good running back class. I would handcuff Blue with Maffa just in case, they have a vision for Maffa to be that early down guy. He might come in and, kill camp, right? So that's the one thing I'd be careful. But I like the vision for Blue because Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders suck. Like we know they're cooked. Javonte, you know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah.
a
No,
huge
100%.
Javonte fan. Like, dude, I thought he was going to be like one of the greatest running backs ever. But unfortunately, he had an injury, man. And some players they don't recover. It sucks. It's a sad story, but it's objectively true. So yeah, I like the Blue pick too. I would just handcuff yourself just in case, you don't want to get it'd be almost like, do you remember it was Philip Lindsay and who was the other running back they took? Do you remember the Broncos took a running back in the 3rd round from Oregon? Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman, yeah.
Dude, this is one of my biggest fantasy lessons of all time. So I was so high on Royce Freeman thinking he's gonna break fantasy.
His
And then
knees
all
are
of a
gone
sudden,
already.
yeah, and Philip, this dude, 7th round pick from Colorado, right? Like you should have been able to see it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Comes in and he takes over. So that's the one lesson I learned from there. But I took Pat Bryant, man. So again, I feel like this is more of like a long ball pick, but there could be dividends year one depending on how good he is and how quick he takes off. I think there's easy path for him to be the wide receiver 2 on this team. I like Marvin Mims, but he's the slot guy. He's a gadget guy, right? And Sutton had some drops last year, and I think that kind of pissed Peyton off, and you have a blossoming Bo Nix, and they took this guy pretty high in the 3rd round. Sean Payton gave him a lot of praise, said there was a lot of similarities to Michael Thomas. So, I'm not saying he's going to be Michael Thomas, but if this is one of Sean Payton's hits, this could be the X receiver for the Broncos moving forward. Sutton, I don't think they re-sign him after this year. I don't know if you feel the same there, but I don't think they do.
No, I think they move on from him. I would move on from him just because you're getting to that point now and where it's at that age gap where it's like, all right, he's past his prime.
Sure.
It should be more downhill. Like you're be paid, like basically it'd be like I was gonna say it's like a baseball contract. We
Right.
start paying for past performance than now performance.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, I think this would be all downhill from here. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised I do move on from him.
No, I completely agree too. And that's where it's like, Pat Bryant's either going to be the guy or they'll get their guy next year, so there is that upside there. Who knows? He could be Traquan Smith, but I like Pat Bryant, who's really good in the Big Ten. He destroyed Rutgers, like absolutely destroyed Rutgers one game. So he's got good tape too. So I'm going to take a flyer on him. And then who was your 4th round pick, brother?
All right, so we'll wrap up the 4th round real quick. I'll go over a quick recap. We had Torrey Horton, wide receiver, Seattle. Jarquez Hunter for you. Ollie Gordon at the 4-3. Eric Arroyo, tight end, 4-4. William Marks, 4-5, who I really was going to hope fall to me, but he didn't. DJ Giddens, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Aaron Schiller took Quinn Ewers, quarterback for Miami, which I secretly like that pick, and I'll talk more about that. I took Trevor Etienne because, why not? Because it's running backs, and running backs are a position I like to draft when I don't know what to pick at that point. Brashard Smith to the 1-8. Xavier Restrepo at 4-10. Savion Williams 4-11. And Rolande Gadsden to wrap up the draft.
Good pick.
So you said, why did I go with the running back there? Why did I pick Trevor Etienne over anyone else?
Yeah. What was your vision there for him? What's the upside?
Because based on what is available and what I think could have, he's not going to be like, this guy's going to be RB1, RB2, but he has potential to make some sort of fancy impact. And if not, it's a 4-8 pick. I don't care at this point. This is a dart throw. You look at what's ahead of him right now. You got Chuba Hubbard. You have who's the other running back that just went there? Rico Dowell signed there. And we know Rico Dowell's not exactly perfect health. Trevor Etienne actually has the opportunity to move into the RB2 slot for Carolina as of right now. After that, it can get murky, especially if Jonathan Brooks does come back. But Etienne could possibly have an opportunity to see a field. Georgia Bulldog, I always like Georgia running backs. That's just always been a thing. Georgia seems to produce good running backs. I feel like Etienne got a little bit knocked down just because, he was a Florida guy before he went to Georgia. But he still showed that running back capability that he has. Not a bruiser, not a high-end speed runner, but better than most would think. But the one I was going to ask you about is, why Jarquez Hunter? I keep asking people this because everyone says I love him as a sleeper, and why do I not see him as like someone that's so great?
Sure. So every Saturday I'm watching SEC football first. If there's not an SEC game on, then I'll watch the Big Ten. I watched a lot of Auburn this year. I love Jarquez Hunter. At first I didn't like the landing spot either because I like Blake Corum. And Kyron Williams is obviously a stud, right? But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, it's kind of interesting how, this was a really deep running back class. So I'm a big believer on good players are going to fall, right? There's guys that are going in the 4th round that would go round 3, day 2, normal years. And I think Jarquez Hunter was one of them. And then I saw, one of my favorite GMs in McVay trade up for this kid, right? And I saw how fired up McVay was. I'm sitting there thinking, there's a lot of tread on Kyron's tires, right? They had been running him to death. You look at his athletic profile, he's actually not the most athletic back. So, what the Rams are doing with him is kind of amazing. He had that big fumble. Not to be this guy, but you could blame, he kind of screwed them out of the Super Bowl appearance. If he didn't fumble that ball versus Philly, the Rams would have won that game. I believe so. So, I think, what we could be seeing here is Kyron Williams insurance, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the most likely outcome. But I think, if you're asking me who's better, Corum or Hunter, I'm taking Hunter. Way more juice. He is an athletic freak. Kid could squat 600 pounds. He could dunk a basketball. He's 5'9". He's a stud. So I think he's either the true handcuff, or I wouldn't be surprised if they factored him in. I wouldn't be surprised if from early on they started trying to do a committee thing and he got some work in the early weeks. And then he just, because of his talent, and the Rams play calling, I could see that role growing over time. And this might actually be the heir to Kyron Williams. Say the Rams, they're a smarter team. So are they going to pay Kyron Williams? I don't know. I would lean towards they're not going to.
No.
Because I feel like the Rams are going to want to put that money into different assets, exactly. Right? And they believe that I can make another Kyron Williams out of Hunter or Blake Corum. That's why we drafted them there. This is what we were getting ready to do. So I think there really could be some untapped, really high upside here that I'm going to be investing in. Hunter's one of my favorite sleepers. I'm going to stash him, and I'm going to hope for the best. I think worst case scenario, he is the real handcuff for the Rams backfield. But the upside is insane.
I wish he would have taken Allie Gordon. That would have been the smarter one to go with because, I mean, just think a couple years ago, he was viewed as the RB1 of this class. Had a horrible season. I mean, god awful. Dude, if you ever watched any Oklahoma State games, you'd have been better watching golf because it was a total snoozer. Like if you were trying to watch anything good with Allie Gordon.
21 carries for 49 yards.
It was horrible. Dude, that offensive line was absolute garbage. Like super garbage. Like I could not even think of like a good way to even put it. And it just didn't work with him. But I like his upside because I mean, what does Miami have at running backs? Devon A-Chain. You have a bunch of, you have your Jalen, right, who you love still. I know.
Just be careful, man. I'm telling you, be careful.
I'm just saying, you be careful. Right. Allie Gordon, dude, if he shows those flashes that he showed 2 years ago of quick cutting ability and able to run, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the RB2 there.
Yeah, well, one of them is definitely going to be the RB2 because
100%.
When the Dolphins are at their best, I think 2023 was like the Dolphins' ceiling, right? Like a playoff team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl, but they're going to be fun during the regular season, kind of like the Cowboys, right? Mm-hmm. Like very fantasy friendly. And you saw like A-Chain and Mostert both went off, right? And then last year, like they were kind of a mess. There was a lot of injuries. And I thought it was interesting. A-Chain with Tua averaged 21 fantasy points per game. Without him, he averaged 7. So the only flaw in this backfield is that their fantasy value is linked to Tua, and we all know the situation's Tua in. But there's been a lot of, promising reports out of camp in Tua, and, they're confident in him. So you just hope for the best. But they're going to have a 1-2 punch. Like, it's not going to be just the A-Chain show. We all know A-Chain's electric. He's 180 pounds. He's not going to be able to sustain an NFL workload, right? And that's why you saw Mostert. I think the way they had the tandem the first year was how it's going to be this year. And it's going to be either Ollie Gordon or Jalen Wright. My money is on Jalen Wright just because I have my reasons. I think Jalen Wright is low-key a stud. But I like your angle too because Ollie Gordon, there was a lot of buzz going into this year, kind of fell off. I am a big believer on, sometimes good players suffer because of bad teams and their value kind of takes a hit. Like, for example, Sam Darnold, right? Bad team goes to a dream scenario and, oh, wow, Sam Darnold's a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Literally quarterback 9. Like, that's insane. But that's the reality of it, right? So that you could be right with Ollie Gordon, and we'll see. One of them is going to win out in camp, and that's going to be the thumper of that offense. So,
and then to wrap it up, we'll talk about the last two. Woody Marks and DJ Giddens. Like, I love their potential upside because of who's ahead of them. Because there's no one really ahead of them besides I wouldn't say 2-star running backs, but one who's a star running back for fantasy, another one who definitely gets you a shit ton of carries and has good fantasy upside. But behind, I think Jonathan Taylor is just a bunch of running backs. DJ Giddens has opportunity. If anything ever happens to Jonathan Taylor, Giddens actually has a nice opportunity. Same thing with Woody Marks, behind Joe Mixon. Dameon Pierce, we've already seen the best of that happen. So it's like, these two actually have the chance to actually be difference makers on the team. And you're getting them here right now in the 4th round. So total freaking slam dunk on that one. My hats off to you. I'm Lucky Leo 255. And once again, Z Fighter 11 for getting those 2 running backs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. There's a lot of fun handcuffs. My favorite handcuff, though, later would be Willie Marks. Reason why is I think he was another running back that fell because of a deep class. Texans traded up for him. That was interesting. And you look at Joe Mixon, man, 28 years old, so he's getting to that kiss of death age. And you look at Joe Mixon's game log, like he misses games, man. He's one of like a run, and it kind of goes under the radar, but he's always missing games. And Willie Marks is a really good pass catching back. So he might get some volume, in PPR. Like, if he's catching passes, he's their pass catching back. then there's some PPR value there. But if he's the handcuff as well, then, and I believe he is, right? Like, say Joe Mixon gets hurt, well, now you have like a solid RB2 for the rest of the year. So I love that pick. My favorite pick of the fourth round, though, is well, my favorite pick of the third round is Terrence Ferguson. I think Z Fighter, he got him an awesome pick. I think he's going to be that's a stash, right? Because Higbee's still there, but again, like Higbee could get hurt. That's why it's a great pick, because the guy in front of him is good, but he's old and he's hurt. So, well, he's hurt all the time. He's healthy now, but you see how much the Rams use their tight ends. So, I thought that was an awesome pick. I think you might see dividends this year, but he will be the tight end of the future as soon as next year. Awesome pick. But then Gadsden, like that was at the end, the last pick.
I knew you were gonna bring him up. You love tight ends,
dude. It was this class. Like I love the running backs and tight ends of this class just because it is historically one of the better classes for both. And there was a lot of studs. So I think like what I'm getting at is like a lot of value fell and a lot of good teams capitalized. Like you notice the trend here, like Gadsden, Chargers traded back up for him, right? And they traded up to the top of the fifth round. Like there's a constant trend where it's like these good GMs were like, guys, we're going to play the board, right? We're going to draft these guys. And we know just because of how deep it is, a lot of good players are going to fall. And that's when we make our move, right? When it doesn't cost that much to trade up or, it's picks that you feel more comfortable moving because like the Lions, they gave up a ton. But Gadsden, man, the reason why I think he's an undervalued player, I think he's a really good receiving tight end. He was really good at Syracuse this year.
Well, he was a wide receiver. He was a wide receiver at Syracuse before he swapped over to tight end. He was a hybrid.
Exact, dude. Yes.
So he's got hands. He just can't block yet.
No, and that's like that's the thing that if you look at the Chargers depth chart, they have blocking tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's interesting. You drafted a receiving tight end, right? And I'm not saying he's going to be Darren Waller, but when you have that hybrid tight end that's now a mismatch that you can line, in the big slot, things like that, like fun stuff. Now, you could have an undervalued player, right? That's really probably should have went higher than where he went. Mm-hmm. And he's connected to a really good quarterback that doesn't have a tight end. Like there's opportunity for him to play day one. Harbaugh was thrilled to get him. He said, we love you. We have a plan for you to help us from day one. Right. So I think that's incredible upside for the last pick of a rookie draft. If he is the starting receiving tight end for the Chargers this year, that's a great pick. So that's why I like that pick, man, because I think there is some undervalued talent there and there's a really clear path to playing time. It's not like, there's a Tyler Higbee there where, he's not going to play off. Like, dude, there's nobody. They have Will Disley, they have, I'm forgetting the other one, but they have like some blocking tight ends, so I like this kid. I think he could be a receiving threat from the first year, which would be something because he's a fifth round rookie tight end. But, the way the NFL is evolving, I feel like all these rookies are making an impact right away.
Yeah, Tyler Conklin's the one that's ahead of him right now.
Conklin, right? Conklin's isn't he a good blocker though?
Yeah, he was a favorite sleeper for most when he was on the Jets. Like everyone was like, if I miss on tight end, I'm getting Tyler Conklin. And how'd that work out? We all fell for it. It's like, back-to-back seasons. Like I think he had like 85 plus receptions, 600 some yards, 6 touchdowns. Good enough to be just throw in your tight end position, and it totally bombed.
Yep. No, that's not, like there's really nothing in front of him, man. So unless Gadsden sucks, which he could, he went in the fifth round, but it seems like they really liked him. There's a need, there's a vision. Yeah, it's a good dart throw.
Yeah, I'll take it back. If I had the 4-8 all over again, I would take Gadsden now, knowing that what I've learned down from you kind of helps me say, you know what, I'll take the dart throw on Gadsden instead, especially in tight end premiums because it's the fourth round, and that's what you're supposed to do is take dart throw upside picks.
Absolutely, dude. That's exactly like that. Especially if it's tight end premium, definitely, dude. You could even make arguments then for like guys like Gunnar Helm or whatever, but I think Gadsden, because like it always comes down to the talent and who's the quarterback throwing him the ball. but definitely tight end premium. I would take the flyer. Was this tight end premium?
Sure.
Oh, this I would have took Ferguson then. Damn.
All right. Well, lesson learned. All right, one last question, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up and get out of here. Dynasty full PPR, 1.75 for tight ends. Wow, that is quite the
holy shit
tight end scoring. Superflex start 11, 12 team. Current lineup is Kyler, Caleb at quarterback. His running backs are Genty, Jaleel. That looks like it's it for that. And then wide receivers are Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins. Tight end, McBride, Hawkinson. And it looks like, so his other wide receivers also Rice and Rome. He got offered Kamara and a 2026 first for Ibuka and Reed. I'm passing on that. I don't want anything to do with Kamara. The 2026 first, which is early to mid, would be nice. But it's like a what-if scenario. Because it's always hard to say, like, yeah, this guy looks like he's going to do this. And it bites him in the ass and say, like, that early to mid turns into a mid to late.
I'm passing on that. Give me Ibuka all day. If this is Dynasty, this is the
this is Dynasty full PPR.
Yeah, then I Ibuka side all day. Now the pick would be nice, like you said. I agree. If you could kind of swindle that without giving up Ibuka, that would be the move. But
it would help his running back with desk. He
could trade T. Higgins. He's deep at receiver. Who is his receivers again?
Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins, Rome Odunze,
and Rashee Rice. You said,
and Rashee Rice. Yep.
Oh yeah, dude. I would shop T. Higgins and Rome, right? Because Rome, the one thing with Rome is it's like, Caleb is set up to take off this year. I'm not a Caleb guy, but I do love the situation that he's in now. Like, that's hard to ignore. But who knows which receiver is going to take off. You got Luther Burden now. You still got DJ Moore there. They drafted Loveland in the top 10. So there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but there's people that are still high on Rome. So, if you could trade Rome for like Travion Henderson or something like that, I would do that in a heartbeat. But also, like, with that wide receiver room, man, like you're cooking with BTJ, Ladd McConkey, like even with Trey Harris, Ladd's still they're two separate roles, so he's still gonna do what he did last year. And then Rashee Rice, like, dude, I would trade one of your receivers and get a running back for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Always do that.
Actually, target Hampton or Henderson. That's what I would do with those two receivers. See if you can make something happen.
Yeah, I think you have a better chance getting Henderson than you do Hampton, just because I think a lot of people know what the love for Hampton's going to be, and they're going to want top dollar for him just because they 100%. Might think he's just below Genty.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me ask you a question. Would you trade T. Higgins and Rome for Hampton?
Am I desperate? Because that sounds like I'm desperate. Like that sounds like I'm giving up too much to get Hampton, but it's also saying if I'm trading for the 102.
Like, here's my angle on this, and you could probably get them to throw you some picks back to feel better about the value.
I say let's get a second or third round back.
Exactly. Like, I think you could probably even get like Hampton in a second, or like Hampton and change like a 2 and a 3. Right.
Always trade for picks back. Like, I always feel like if I'm gonna trade a pick away, I want a pick of some sort back, even if it's a 2026 pick. I'll take it.
Right. Well, think about the setup and makeup of it. I agree with you. But the setup and makeup of his team, dude, like sometimes in fantasy, it's just like you got to trade like where you're deep to like if he had Genty and Hampton, that's kind of insane. So it's like, how can I make that happen? Pair the two receivers and get some picks back so you get your dart throws and you feel good about the value.
Yeah,
and you got the best player in the deal and the best long-term player too.
Yep, 100%. Love it. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. What a good Friday night.
I don't know, dude. I'm having too much fun with you, dude. I think I want to do another one.
We might have to.
Yes, sir, dude.
All right. Be sure to go to fffaceoff.com for all your fantasy football needs. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here. We're coming up with a boat ton of content, man. Like, as you've already seen, Ernie, like the talk we had with the group yesterday. So more content coming your way. Plus, Absolute Auction is coming this way. So I'm very excited to bring that onto here. You guys will love it. All you guys who love auction content, you're going to be in for a whirlwind. For Ernie and myself, we'll talk to you guys later.
Signing off, guys. See you later.